And so I recently saw a video, and it really spoke to the topic of grief, and it put it into a perspective that I think that I would like to adopt, and I'm going to share it with you in case you haven't heard this. Most of us refer to our healing as a journey, right? We say we're on a healing journey. And thus we point to grief as this journey. I'm on a grief journey. We're in our grief journey. And of course, with the sharing of things on social media platforms, of course, you can tap in probably on any social media platform and hit the hashtag grief journey. And you're going to get a lot of different posts from a lot of different people. Because at some point, everyone is going to experience a level of grief. And they may share that socially. But the guy's name was John. And what he said was he likened grief to that of a language, and the end goal being to have fluency in that language, not a journey where the end goal is typically a destination. And I thought, mind blown. It was extremely powerful because words matter, and how we interpret words matters. How we perceive words, it matters. And when we talk about a journey, when you think about a journey, when someone is going to sojourn, right, you pack a bag most of the time. You pack a bag, you put a certain amount of stuff in there, you bring your snacks and your tools and the things that you need to go along on this journey. But a journey does sort of denote this idea that somewhere along the way, there's supposed to be a final destination, right? We don't go on a journey to nowhere. You journey on, but eventually you wind up at a destination or your final stop. And in grief, there is no final stop. When it comes to grief, there is no final destination for this journey, this ride. It doesn't stop. It changes. We grow with it. And therefore, his correlation to a language, we can learn it. We can grow with it. We can begin to understand it. We can move our way through it. We can hold hands and coexist with it. But it doesn't end. For those of you that have never seen my face before, my name is Addie, and my husband passed away in November of 2022. I've been using multiple platforms to try to bring a more casual conversation to the topic of grief in a society that really sort of pushes it under the rug. I also have been sharing my story as a means to heal myself because I am a vlogger, I am a content creator, as well as to help other grievers feel a little less alone. While this particular widowhood journey is something totally different and still fairly fresh and new to me, I'm not a stranger to loss or feelings of grief. I experienced friend loss when I was 21 years old. Of course, I had childhood pets, and I experienced those losses as well. But more deeply than that, my first major loss was in 2013. So 11 years ago this year, I had sibling loss. My brother passed away. And it was an experience and a circumstance that 1,000,000% changed the trajectory of my life. And I can speak from a place of saying that the grief from that, it's not gone. The grief from that, it hasn't disappeared. It still shows up when it wants to. She still rears her head. Now I know how to sit in it, and I know how to be with it, and I know how to manage it. And it took a long time for it to not be something that was affecting my day-to-day life every single day. But that's why it makes more sense to think of grief as a language that we learn to become fluent in, and that other people around us gain fluency in through our own processes, than to compare grief to a journey that has an end destination, because it doesn't. So stop thinking of your grief as this journey you're on with a backpack. because it gives this false hope that we are waiting to get off the journey, that someday soon we're going to park at the final destination and this whole thing is going to be over and you can exit stage left and you can get off the ride and you're going to be done. And that's not the reality of how this thing works.